So thank you all for joining us. Like I said, we're talking Q4, which actually starts a little bit after spring break, but our change will begin starting after spring break in the last week of March, first week of April. And so we're going to go over some quick stats. You know, it's been a Herculean effort this year by families and staff combined. And so we'll give you a look at kind of who's preferring what. We have information about CDL, we have information about hybrid, and then if we have time at the end, we'll take some Q&A. We're encouraging people to use our questions document as you go through to put your questions in so that we can answer them in real time, which is actually the next slide. So we have these are the two documents Jose was showing you on our website. The one on the left is for general questions that you want answers to about hybrid or CDL, and we will try to answer those as much as we can throughout the presentation for you. And if not, we'll finish them up tonight and tomorrow. You'll be able to go back to that document to find your answers if they're not there tonight. If you have questions that are more specific to you and your family, please use the Google form to give us your more specific question so that we can get back to you with a specific response to that question. And remember, we are still receiving new information and updates from PPS and ODE and OHA. So we're presenting everything that we have as of right now. We also know that in the pandemic, things are ever changing. And so we will continue to do our best to keep you up to date with everything as soon as we learn about it. And we hope this will be our plan, but we also want to make sure you know that as in the pandemic throughout this year, things are subject to change. So some quick stats. Of our families, we were able to survey 475, or sorry, of our 475 families, we were able to survey 440. So some of that was through the initial survey, but we did a lot of emails, phone calls, texts, remind messages, and home visits to get almost all of our students and families' responses to what their preferences were, which leaves us with 238 students that are going to be attending in hybrid and 157 who are attending CDL. And the breakdown in terms of our two different programs is 133 students in hybrid in DLI and 150 students in English Scholars in DLI. And this was as of this Monday. You can also see by grade the number of students who are enrolling in hybrid versus CDL for each grade level currently. We're a little bit, in most grades, a little over, like between 50 and 60% of families preferring hybrid, with first and fifth being a little bit higher than that, and fourth. So let's talk a little bit about hybrid instruction, and Jose, jump in at any point if I miss something, please. And again, remember, we're still ironing out some of the details for this, but we want to give you everything we have as of right now. So topics we're going to talk about is our, now my dog wants to bark, is our program model, tentative schedules, the student day, and safety measures and expectations.
I can take over if you want to give her a quick break. All right, so the first two images that are in blue are some of the responses from the initial PPS parent survey, where you were able to share some of the things that were important to you. And overall, by and large, the vast majority of our families said it was either important or very important for students to stay with the same teacher. And then there were quite a few different areas of like additional needs, the greatest being academic support, then in-person peer interaction, as well as transportation. And then we also did a similar survey with our staff, kind of getting an idea of where should we prioritize our program models. And again, by and large, our teachers also echoed the sentiment that we would want to keep students with the same teacher. And now Megan will tell you about our hybrid model.
For now, I'm safe from the dog barking for at least a few minutes. So in terms of our hybrid model, the way that we selected our model was to prioritize keeping students with their current teacher, which we've been able to do in almost all instances. So hybrid students will attend live in the morning. So all of our hybrid cohorts are AM sessions. This allows almost all students to stay with the same teacher. It allows all siblings to attend at the same time, which we know is really important for our community. And it also allows transportation for all of our eligible students, and it allows for our CDL cohort students to also be able to stay with the same teacher. Hybrid students have synchronous learning in the morning, and then they'll have their asynchronous learning in the have synchronous and asynchronous in the afternoon. So there'll be some live things online in the afternoon and some that are just done independently. And then they'll be in person in the morning. So the tentative schedule is that students will arrive around 7:50 to 8 o'clock, and they'll be screened as they come in the building. From 8 o'clock to 10:15, they'll have social emotional learning and their core subject areas, and then they'll have dismissal at 10:15. And we're working on movement breaks that will also be embedded within that schedule. In the afternoon, they will have a 40-minute special, which every other day, it's very similar to this. Jose, I'll let you take over for a second.
So the special schedule should be very similar to what we currently have in full CDL, where on some days they'll have a live session with their specialist, and then the following day they might have asynchronous work on Seesaw. For our students who receive ESL and SPED services, these will also be delivered virtually live. And the afternoon time will also be a chance for kids to do any homework that teachers have assigned, projects, as well as digital learning on the apps. And then Wednesdays is kind of a funky day. Wednesdays is mostly an offline day, with the exception of a morning meeting focused around socio-emotional learning that will bridge together the two different cohorts. So it will be a time for the students in the virtual cohort to also be with their teacher and the students in the hybrid cohort. So overall, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday will be in-person days for the hybrid cohort, and then Wednesday will be mostly asynchronous.
Okay, so hybrid safety measures that are being put in place. Students are seated socially distanced on school buses for those who are using transportation. Students must wear a face mask, face covering at all times. Face shields are only permissible in limited circumstances, and we have to have medical documentation to support having a student wear a face shield instead of a face covering. Students must wash hands and or use hand sanitizer upon entering bathroom and usage and dismissal. So, and basically at all different times during the day, and we will be helping to teach and remind students about hand washing and the length of that and having a good routine around it. Desks are socially distanced, and there's single students to every desk. Hallways are marked with with directional arrows and a line in the middle to designate which side of the hallway students should walk down. All classrooms have a HEPA air purifier in the classroom, and we have a space where symptomatic students will be isolated and monitored, and COVID testing will be available on site for symptomatic students and staff. Other specific hybrid safety measures that we've heard people have been asking about. One is about buses. So there's only one student to a seat unless they are in the same household, and they skip seats between every student. There's also a front section that is for if a student's on the bus and then starts to show symptoms. This shouldn't be used often because families should be doing a screening at home, which we will train families on who are specifically in the hybrid cohort before they start. And the bus driver does a visual screening as well before students enter on the bus. But if somehow there's a student who becomes symptomatic on the bus, there is a place for them to be sectioned away from other students. This is not as much, I guess it still falls under safety. But I know we just sent home a bunch of school supplies for everyone. And so those should stay at home because students will still have their PM distance learning, both live and independent work. So we want to make sure you still have those materials at home. As a school, we have ordered and are going to have individual supply kits for every hybrid student at their desk that will stay at school because students will not be able to share supplies or other things throughout the day. So each student will have their own supply kit at school as well. And now this is a video from Woodlawn, but just kind of giving an idea of a typical day of what your student will experience in hybrid.
Give me a thumbs up when you hear the audio.
Welcome back to school, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. Things are going to be a little bit different, and we're going to wash our hands a lot. First thing you're going to do is get checked in on the way in. I'm glad you're here. Have a great day. First thing, we're always going to wear a mask when we're in and around the building. If you forget your mask, we have masks at school, and we can make sure you have one. Before you go into school, you'll receive a pump of hand sanitizer. Make sure you rub your hands together so the sanitizer gets on the front of your hands and the back of your hands and between all of your fingers. We'll be washing and sanitizing our hands a lot throughout the day. When you enter the building, you're going to head directly to your classroom. Remember to be safe, respectful, and responsible. When you walk to your classroom, you'll notice arrows on the floor. Just walk in the same direction of the arrows until you reach your classroom door. Always stay to the right in the hallway. If you need to stop into the office, that will look a little different too. You'll be invited in when it's your turn. There's a marking on the floor to remind you where to stand to keep a safe distance. To ensure everyone is safe, there is plexiglass now installed in the office. Good morning. Our classrooms will look a bit different too. Our desks are spread farther apart to keep distance between you and other students. When you enter the room and exit, you'll sanitize your hands. Also new this year, we'll not be sharing materials like scissors and crayons in the classroom. You'll have assigned seats and we'll wipe down the table after you use it too. Your teacher is able to help you with any questions you might have, including where to hang your coat and backpack in the classroom. All rooms will have some windows open for extra ventilation. Hey friends, you might get thirsty during the day, and that's okay. I'm glad you have your water bottle. You're going to follow some steps that are a little bit different than usual, but it's really easy, and you can take a drink anytime you need one. But we're gonna practice it right now, okay? So step one is open your water bottle. Get it ready to take a drink. Okay, next step, now that your water bottle is ready, you'll pull your mask down and take a drink, then put it down and put your mask back on. Can you try that? Go for it. Mask down, take a drink, mask up. Yes, and then you close your water bottle. So we are minimizing the amount of time that your mask is off. You can take a drink anytime you need to. Try to follow that routine. When you need to use the bathroom, you'll notice a few new things in the restroom. There will be a limited number of students who can be in the restroom at one time, and you'll have an assigned restroom. You may have to wait outside until it is your turn. You'll see marks on the floor showing you where to wait. Make sure you wash the front of your hands, the back of your hands, and in between all your fingers.
Happy birthday to you.
Cedric is using the happy birthday song to help him wash for 20 seconds. If you're ever feeling sick, tell your teacher right away, and an adult who has been trained to review symptoms may ask you to rest in a new space called the symptom space. This room has a place for you to wait and an air filtration system. It will keep students safe and distant until your parents can pick you up. At the end of the day, you'll be released when it's your classroom's turn to exit the building through the door that's yours. We'll head straight to the bus or to your parents' car or begin your safe walk home. As we get ready to head back to our classrooms, it's important to know that things might change again, and that's okay. If things change, just know it's to keep us as safe as possible. Remember, we're safe, kind, respectful, and responsible to each other.
Other important information that we want to make sure you're aware of is that meals will be provided to go. So we won't be serving meals during the day, but students will be able to grab and go a breakfast and lunch at the end of each day before they leave. Students are encouraged to bring a water bottle. Students need to use school provided hand sanitizer, so they should not be bringing their own. Only staff and students will be allowed in the building during this time. And hybrid students may switch to CDL at any time. However, CDL students may only switch to hybrid if space allows. Spring break safety. We have already heard about some families who are planning to travel during spring break, which is fine. We are asking that families please be conscientious of the possible COVID-19 exposure that you may get by traveling. And so the CDC recommends a viral test 3 to 5 days after travel and to stay home and self-quarantine for 7 full days after travel, even with a negative test. So what we're asking is that if you travel with your family, that you please quarantine for 7 days when returning from your trip. Luckily for us, if the tentative agreement with PAT is passed by the board on Thursday, 2nd through 5th grade will have all asynchronous days the week that we get back from spring break. K through 1 will have their first asynchronous day on this Friday, and then they would have asynchronous days up until that Thursday. And so most students will actually have a built-in 7 days to quarantine after spring break. If you are K or 1 and you travel, we ask that you do not come to the soft start so that you have a full 7 days to quarantine. If you were to extend your spring break an additional week because of those asynchronous days, we are asking that you please quarantine for the next week before coming to hybrid instruction for the safety of our community. So we do have some closed classrooms. In order to keep all students with their same teacher, we had to make one cohort in person and one cohort CDL. And then we have the space constraints of our classrooms to make sure that we keep the 35 square feet and that everything is 6 feet apart. Jose and I have been setting up all the classrooms this week. And so we've been measuring all the desks and making sure that we have all the walkways and the egress and everything. So we have had to start to close some classrooms to additional hybrid students in order to make sure that we don't have to change people's teachers. And so you can see here in DLI, Ms. Perez, Maestra Strode, Maestra Venus, and Maestra Morales are all currently closed. In the English Scholars Program, Mr. Lee, Ms. Roosevelt, Mr. McGowan, Ms. Almond, Ms. Burgess, Ms. Burgess, and Mr. Kelly are also closed. Families will be notified this Friday via Remind which program your student is enrolled in. Your student is enrolled in whichever one you initially selected, unless you submitted to our survey to ask for a change. And as long as you did that before I sent the email saying that classes are closed meaning we cannot add any additional hybrid students in those classrooms. They are capped off, and anyone who originally picked CDL that has not changed it yet will remain in CDL. So you will be, we're gonna send everyone a note in Remind that just confirms what program you are in. If you sent in a request after I sent the email or the Remind message about classes being closed for a closed class, we will put you on a wait list. And if someone wants to move into CDL, so a space is opened up, then we will alert you that you would be able to get in. And we will continue to alert families about which classes will be, if more classes close, we will continue to alert you which classes close and get capped. We are going to have a hybrid parent orientation that is going to talk about a lot more specifics to hybrid because we knew this update was going to have families both who are interested in hybrid and families who just wanted to know what changes to CDL would look like on Wednesday, March 31st at 6 p.m. Tentatively, we will confirm with you just because there's lots of changing information via Zoom, and that's where we will go through like, where do you enter? Where do you exit? What are the exact, you saw a Woodlawn video, but we'll talk about the exact bathroom procedures for Scott, the bus procedures, and go through all the different safety protocols with you so that you are really clear on how to make sure to keep your students safe. There's also a really important parent screener that you'll want to do every morning with your child before they go to school. This is the time when I know I used to be like, they're just coughing a little bit, send them, we want them to be here and learn. And this is not the time for that. So when in doubt, keep them out, keep them home. Okay. It's the opposite of what I would normally tell you about attendance, but we really want to keep everyone safe. So we'll go through all of that with hybrid parents only on Wednesday, March 31st. We have a lot of this done, but there are still a few different procedures and things that we are finalizing. I also want to assure you that Portland Public Schools has a long list of standard operating procedures for all of in-person instruction that we have been using during our LIPI instruction. So the good news is that our school has gotten a lot of experience by being one of the first schools to start with LIPI. So we've been able to implement a lot of these practices on a smaller scale and feel really excited about being able to welcome back more students in a safe way. Oh, and Jose says that he has linked all of the standard operating procedures in that spring 2021 section of the website. Big shout out to Jose for taking over our website and actually making sure it's up to date and useful. So if you are concerned about those types of safety procedures, you can go in and you can read through, there's a whole bunch of them. I think it's like 23 of them or something, the different procedures for the district. And then we've also tailored those to be even more specific to Scott, which is what we will review in that training the week after spring break. So now we want to take a chance to talk about CDL instruction because it is impacted by our opening of in-person learning. And please remember, CDL is always subject to change as well. So if you are choosing to stay in our CDL model, the things that you should know is all students will now have CDL live groups in the afternoon. So because students are live are in person in the morning, if you are staying in comprehensive distance learning online, your classes will now be in the afternoon. You'll be in a PM group so that your teacher is able to teach both classes of students. Again, this allows almost all students to stay with their same teacher instead of having to change teachers, and it allows siblings to stay together and have class at the same time. AM, there will still be things to do. It's mostly asynchronous, but you will have some live groups for specials, special ed, and ESL. So there will still be some live learning that takes place in the morning. However, your student schedule is going to change. Here's approximately what it'll look like in the morning on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. You'll have a 40-minute specials class, which will be live, sometimes in asynchronous, just like right now. ESL and SPED services will also happen, and there'll be asynchronous work your student can work on. Then your synchronous or live sessions will be in the afternoon. You'll have an opening, then we'll have social emotional learning and core subjects, just like the morning class that is in the hybrid in-person model, and then we'll have a closing and dismissal. So the schedule is identical in the afternoon to the morning, it's just online. And on Wednesdays, similar to what Jose described, is that there will be potentially some live groups for things like specials, for things like ESL and SPED, but the main key point is this is the one day where all of our students can get together from class and have their whole group back together that they've been with for the year for an SEL group meeting. So if you go back to the schedule really quick, so students will be in school on some days for longer than 2.5 hours. So they for sure have for 2 hours and 15 minutes of live instruction every day. Plus they have a special every day, which is 40 minutes, and 3 days a week that special is live. And students who have ESL and SPED services will also have live groups as well. So that's how that will work in terms of the question around more than 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like this is the schedule. Every student gets the 2 hours and 15 minutes every day, 40 minutes, 3 days a week of specials, and then any additional services live as well, plus the 45 minutes on Wednesday whole group. And this is a district-wide schedule, not just Scott-wide. No, so that this is the schedule for the whole district for in-person and for hybrid. Other important information: meals will still be provided to go. CDL student schedules are changing in the way I just described to account for the hybrid AM cohort. Students in CDL may only switch to hybrid if space allows, and homework pickup will continue, but we are only going to do it once a week instead of twice a week. just since we have less people who are needing to pick up. Hybrid students and CDL students have the exact same amount of instructional time for that question in the chat. So questions and answers. I don't see anyone putting anything in our lovely questions document, so I will go back through the chat since we still have time until our next meeting to see if there's anything I didn't answer. I think I did close. So in terms of safe social distancing in the hallways, we're planning to have a hall monitor in each hallway. I mean, I'm not going to go too in depth into the hybrid specific things because we wanted to have that at a separate orientation specifically just for the hybrid families. But we'll have a hall monitor, and obviously teachers will enforce social distancing if the whole class is moving like outside for a movement break when they are in the hallway. We haven't had any news yet about reducing the spacing. So right now we are going with 6 feet. Obviously, if spacing changes, then we will change the capacity of our classrooms, which could potentially open up more spots. But right now, this is what we have been given. And CDL opening and closing time will mostly involve social emotional learning. And got it. Oh, someone said they couldn't figure out how to use the document. I can actually drop it in the chat so you can get to it. And I see some people are starting to type in there as well. We just wanted to make sure if we didn't get to everyone's questions that you guys could go back and find them and we could get you answers. So yes, so windows will be, we have windows that open in all of the classrooms, and we can find the link and put it into the updated website about HVAC that has come out from PPS, but we do have HEPA filters air purifiers with HEPA filters in every single classroom. There is going to be movement breaks. I'm calling recess movement breaks. It's going to look a little different, and I don't want students to think it's going to look the same as it used to. But yes, there is time for every class to go outside and to have a break, and we'll talk about the safety procedures for that during orientation. We'll see. So I'm not sure about CDL student attendance. I assume it will stay the same as it is now, which is if you are unable to attend and you at least do work and you communicate that with your teacher that you are still marked as present. I will have to find out if the district puts out different suggestions around that or requirements around that. Yes, so kindergarten and first grade have a soft start that we will be getting you more information about at the orientation. It will take place on April 1st and April 2nd. So you will either come on April 1st or April 2nd. And that will be KN1 specific, because even first graders were only in school for, not even a whole year. And so we want to make sure that they get a little bit extra time to learn how to do everything with us before everyone comes back. Teachers have also been working this week and on starting to do some social stories with students and talking to students and prepping students with lessons about that a change is going to happen so that we can make sure they're ready. Air filters in the bathrooms. That is a good question. I will check on that. Our filters actually, they just got delivered today, so we have to go set them up everywhere. So they've told us we have them for every room that we need them for, and that they sent us extras. So bathrooms would be a yes, because every space a person is going to be gets a filter. We just have to get them set up this week. What day does the new schedule start? So for kindergarten and first grade, basically this week is the last week of this schedule. So 2nd through 5th grade will have this schedule through Friday. K through 1 will have this schedule through Thursday if the PAT tentative agreement with PAT is ratified on Thursday evening, which I know is a tight timeline. Then the week after spring break will be asynchronous for all students. KN1 will have that soft start on Thursday and Friday. And then everyone will start with the full new schedule starting on April 5th. So as always, our teachers assess our students both when it's been remote and in person to collect data to help inform instruction and to see where they are, to see growth and to guide what they are planning for students. No, students should not bring their Chromebook back and forth to school. We think that is a very bad idea. I don't want students to be responsible for that piece of equipment, walking and busing. Second of all, there's a lot of then we have to clean them all. Then you have to keep track of them. I feel like it's gonna go bad. So no, your Chromebook stays at home and your school supplies stay at home. The only thing we're saying to bring would be a water bottle. So Kinder will start on, so we'll get dates out to everyone. Okay, we will send you remind messages, but Kinder and First will start on either April 1st or 2nd. That is still being decided as this information just got to us in the last day. So we will get that out to you guys. I see Jose is busy in the document.
So I've been responding to a few, and can you clarify this one that I am highlighting?
Yep, I see it. So will children attending in person be able to log on to their live afternoon sessions for CDL? I would say no for right now, but I can double check that. I don't think that is necessarily equitable or fair to say that they can get double, but students who are in CDL cannot get double. And it's going to be the exact same lesson. So also in the afternoon, they're going to have specials at that time. They're going to have asynchronous work assigned at that time. They're going to have ESL groups and special education groups. So it also wouldn't be fair to our special education students or our ESL students if other students who don't receive those services are able to go on to another meet and they are not. So no, we won't be doing that. Let me see here. Okay, if your hybrid child is going to be absent from school, can she join the CDL class in the afternoon so instruction is not missed? We will get back to you on that. That's a great question. Some of these things I'm going to have to run by district things so that I don't make policies that are not okay and tell you something different. So is the survey we got from the district the same as the one you sent on Remind? No, it is not, but you can just do our one because we are cross-referencing all of them and updating it. So if you just use ours, don't even worry about the district one now. If you have an update or you even didn't fill out the district one, you can just fill ours out and we will make sure that it is all in there. Is it possible to see data broken down by demographics for Scott? Can whoever asked that question let me know? Does that mean you want to know who's choosing hybrid versus who's choosing CDL, or just our overall demographics? I mean, we have all of that. I'm just curious what you want.
Yeah, I was curious who's choosing hybrid, who's choosing distance learning, but this is actually probably a lot of work to do, so you can skip that one.
No, we have it. It's okay. We shared it with staff. I look at Jose, he might be copying the table and putting it into this table. What I will tell you is it was spread across demographics. So there wasn't all of these families wanted one thing, all of these families wanted the other. We did have a higher percentage of, a much higher percentage of Black families wanting hybrid than their percentage of the population. And I think with Native families as well, but Jose will drop that into this document so that you can see it. So in terms of final schedule, so the final schedule is that it will be from 8 to 10:15 if you are in person in the morning. And if you're in the afternoon, you are 12:15 to 2:30. And if you're in the afternoon, you'll use your same teacher's link that you would normally use. So, we'll make sure that you have that and you'll get a confirmation of which cohort you are in just to make sure you know on Friday. Yeah, if you are unsure if you put what response you put in, you can always just resubmit to the Scott survey that we have been sending out to fill out. If you put it in a second time, we'll just double check that it's the right thing. So you can also call the main office during the day, and Cecilia is also able to look that up for you, but I think it's probably faster to just put it in the Google Doc and then we can double check it. Yep. Yeah. Either way, you can just resubmit to Scott with what you know you want, and we will double check it. Um, so I think someone here asked, any teachers teaching remote while students are in their class. So right now the plan is to have all teachers at Scott teach in person in the AM, and then remotely in the PM with their in-person cohort, and then their CDL cohort. Of course, right now teachers are able, through HR to apply for remote positions or leave, and we'll be finding out about that. And if that impacts us at all, we'll definitely be alerting families. If a teacher does any of those things, then we would get a substitute to teach that class. So I do want to make sure that that's clear. And then Jose also added that teachers can teach their CDL cohort from home, but they will be obviously in person for their in-person cohort. So specials or electives are going to work the exact same way they're working right now. So your student, now they might be in their special with some different students, but they'll be in the same special they've been in for quarter 3, because they're supposed to have those specials for quarter 3 and quarter 4. So if you're art, PE, and health science, you'll do that. If you're music, dance, and library, you will have that. You'll have those same specials you just had this last quarter. The time will change, and so we will get that out to you guys with what time your special is and the links that you will need. Yeah, so parents are not allowed inside for drop off for hybrid. We'll talk more specifically about drop off at our parent orientation, but we do have 3 different entrances to separate out, and we have 3 different screeners at each entrance. So everyone will be screened before entering the building. And then there's specific directions that students will learn how to walk. And then the same thing with like exits. We exit through the 3 different exits plus outside doors, and then students will line up socially distanced at different locations. That again, we'll share all of this information at the hybrid orientation with more specifics, so that you guys know exactly where to drop off and pick up your students. The one change I can tell you for drop off is buses come on 68th. Drop off will be on 66th, not in front of Prescott, because we are not using the main entrance. We're using all entrances in the back of the school. So just to be ready to kind of start to think about that. So drop off will be on 66th, and parent drop off on 66th, bus drop off on 68th. Yes, we are working on individual reading support for students through our tier 3 supports. It may change a little and look a little different. We haven't quite gotten to that part of the schedule yet. We're still finishing up a couple other things with ESL and special education. So once those are done, then we will work with that, but we are still planning to provide reading support for students who need it. And actually that will be provided to both in-person and CDL students online in small groups, just like ESL and SPED services. So anything outside of that core instruction with their teacher will still be provided virtually. Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Go for it.
I just wanted to say that the work and care that you guys have put into this is really evident to me, and I appreciate it so much. And I feel really lucky to have you all looking out for our kids. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. So as of right now, the parents aren't allowed in the building for any reason, but I will follow up on that just to make sure in terms of this medical emergency question, just to make sure that we're really clear on if there's any exceptions to that and get back to you. I guess I have one more question. Friday, we will have our normal schedule. Friday, 2nd through 5th grade will have their normal schedule. Friday, kindergarten and 1st grade will be independent work posted on Seesaw. If
Uh,
the tentative agreement is ratified on Thursday night at the board meeting.
we got an email from PPS, I think just within a few hours ago, that K1 will have asynchronous learning days Friday, March the 19th. Is okay.
Yes, so as, again, and that's contingent on the agreement being ratified on Thursday night, which we know is a very quick turnaround to Friday. So I think they're sending it out, making sure you guys knew that is K1 only. Friday will be independent, pending that agreement being ratified. And then everybody else will have all of their independent week, the week we get back from spring break. K1 will also have, and we will send this all with a nice little graphic, so you don't have to remember it. We will put it in writing and send it out so you can have it. K1 will have the first 3 days independent when we get back. So the reason they're having Friday off is we want to have soft start days for those students. And so their teachers still needed 5 days to prep and plan and get their room set up. So that's why they're getting Friday, because they're going to work the soft start at the end of that week you get back from spring break. So that's why it's a little bit different for K1 versus 2-5. So I know those of you that are in both camps, sorry, but we will send out something this week just reminding you with some graphics. And I just saw the shout out for the outreach, and I need to send that over to Jose, because that was not me. Jose had a team that was doing phone calls, and Jose personally visited, and Mrs. Campbell, those two personally visited a lot of homes to make sure that people were informed and could ask questions and could really decide what was best for their families and get all their questions answered. So yeah, I can take no credit for that. That was all Jose and Mrs. Campbell.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I apologize for, there were a lot of you that got like 9 p.m. texts from me. So thank you so much for bearing with those.
Aftercare options. We are working on aftercare options. We just got to reach out. So our school is like at capacity. At one point we thought that Jose and my office might be the symptom space. We have figured that out. However, we are at capacity, so we can't really host aftercare at Scott, but Wrigler has aftercare, and right now we're working to try and coordinate, and they did ask us if we had families interested in aftercare, and we said yes. So we are, that's in the process, and we're trying to get a bus route from Scott at 10:15 to Wrigler to be able to drop off kids for aftercare, but that is all pending. So none of that is finalized yet, but it is being worked on, and we will get back to you once we know more information. Any last questions, comments?
I had a last one actually. So we made a bunch of window masks at the beginning of the pandemic. Not at the beginning of the pandemic, over the summer. Should I bring them to school?
Yes,
Okay, I will do that.
that would be great. Because we have a stash that you guys brought us for Lippy that we've been using that's been really helpful. So yes, that would be great, because then we can get those organized by like hallway and room and have them ready for entrances if people don't have them, and for teachers if a mask isn't fitting right. So
Okay, these are like masks that have the little window in them for talking. So I don't.
those will probably be K2, because that's where they're going to need them. So we'll distribute. I'll get the rest. I know Sarah has more of the other masks, so we can then have those at the entrances and for the upper grades. So yeah, if we can just get all, I know there were tons of masks. If anyone has masks, you know, that were made at the beginning when we thought we might be returning in the fall, you can bring them up to the main office, and then we will get them all organized by type and size and make sure they get to the correct teacher rooms based on grade level and need, and also to like our speech and learning path, you know, the different people that would need those specifics for the window masks.
Okay, I'll assemble whatever I need to do and hand it off. I guess not spring break week, but the week after.
And yes, so my guess would be probably not school on Friday for K1, but again, pending the ratification of the agreement. Any other needed supplies? Just like for the school in general, or specifically for kids to bring? We're asking that no one brings anything, right? Like except for themselves and their water bottle. Yes, there are some potential needs that I think I can maybe reach out to PTA about. There's been some suggestions of things that we could use, that I can maybe work with PTA, then they can work with you guys to see if there's a pencil sharpening team. Well, we bought mechanical pencils so that we can try and avoid pencil sharpening. That was our fix for the pencil sharpening issue. But I do know one thing that teachers have asked for is maybe per grade that could be shared one of the plexiglass or like windows for being able to test a student close by so they can actually hear them with masks on, because we only have that for the main office. That's not something that's being provided. So that was something I was going to bring to PTA. So there's a few things like that that we can maybe work with PTA. And if you want to help with, you can let them know, and then they can work with them, with you and with me and Jose, figure it out. And I really wish I could ask for parent volunteers to help Jose and I with the furniture moving and the desk measuring, but you're not allowed in the building right now, so sorry.
Something I would add that's kind of come up in conversations today as we've talked to different grade levels about different things like recess, etc., is a lot of our teachers are kind of thinking about how they can use the field for different activities. And our field has essentially become the hottest dog park in town, and people have been doing who knows how many, it's a very cool hangout spot. So I don't know if any of you want to do like a little trash collecting group sometime before April 1st, like that would be awesome, just so that our kids aren't stepping in doo-doo or stumbling upon things that shouldn't be at a school site.
The other thing is you can start to remind all of our wonderful neighbors and yourselves that once hybrid starts, you cannot be on that field while we are in school with kids. We've asked PPS for signs. I don't know if we will get them, but we are also pretty concerned about that has become a hangout all day long. So that like 8 to 10, 30, 11 o'clock range when we have students on campus, that's not going to be able to happen anymore for any of the things that are going on. Like I saw a wonderful looking yoga group this morning when I drove in. I don't know if any of you were there. I tried to kind of wave, but everyone was like super into it and they weren't looking at me in the large undercovered area, which I thought was wonderful, but it was also at about 7:50, which was arrival time. So morning yoga is going to have to move. Sorry. So just putting it out there now so that you can start to, plan. You have a couple weeks still. Well, if there's no more questions, we actually have to do this whole gig again. Actually, I don't. Jose does in Spanish, and I'm just gonna like sit there and say bienvenidos. But I would love to give Jose a 8-minute break before the next meeting. So I would just ask, you can keep using the questions doc. We'll try and check back on that. Individual family questions. Oh, one more missed question above. What did I miss, Johnny?
Hand washing concern. Any concerns or plans to mitigate possible obsession compulsion developing in children from so much washing and sanitizing?
Great question. I'm gonna talk with other people about that. That is not my specialty. But I mean, I think there's a couple things, right? Like we want students to be safe, but we also want them to feel safe coming back. So that's been a lot in a lot of our like social stories and the lessons that teachers have created and that the districts put out that'll be done towards the end of this week to help students with the transition and as they start back. So I think it's that balance of helping students feel like here's the things you need to do and how you need to do them to be safe. And if we're seeing concerning behavior, obviously we'll loop in our counselor, our social worker. We have a response team at PPS as well, and some of our people that specialize in those types of things. But I'm not going to say I have a great answer to that right now since I don't, but I will think about it and I will make sure our team starts thinking about it as well. Different language. Okay, healthy maybe. We'll talk about that. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Have a great night, and we will be in touch with the hybrid orientation, and we'll obviously be continuing to send you out. I know you get a lot from us, but we're going to keep sending out reminders and updates and dates and all those different things to you guys and any changes that we get as we get them. Thanks so much. Have a great night.